My turn now. All right, let's show you the list of guys that have changed a little bit for me, a little bit more on the positive side than these two guys here. Only one guy has really made me concerned, and that's Dak Prescott. I had a whole list of guys, but I wanted to go a little bit more of a positive spin. So Dak's the one that's kind of fallen for me because of the injuries to the offensive line. You see a few running backs on this list, Christian Kirk and David Njoku as well. So let's get to Dak Prescott because he was somebody that I know, Heath, you liked as a still, breakout caliber quarterback, but a potential top 5 caliber quarterback. I just don't know if he can get there without Tyron Smith and this offensive line looking like it does, with Michael Gallup not 100%, with James Washington not being there as a 4th receiver. We'll see if Jalen Tolbert can make plays, but he's a rookie. I feel like Dak is just somebody you settle for as opposed to somebody target.
Yeah, I mean, I like him in this QB 10 range, and so it's definitely, this is not the range you're targeting quarterbacks. This is the range where you've waited and other people have used high picks. But I wouldn't say that he doesn't have any upside. There's still a possibility that Jalen Tolbert's a lot better than we think he is. If the Cowboys were right on him, there's still a chance that Michael Gallup comes back in 2 or 3 weeks and has an Amari Cooper-like impact. So I still think there's some upside for Prescott. This is the right place to rank him.
And Jason Peters now joining the offensive line as well, 40 years old, coming out of retirement. We'll see what that means for the offensive line. Hopefully good things, because we like Dak, we like Ezekiel Elliott as well. I didn't put Zeke on the list because I was already down in the beginning. There's nothing really changed for me with the fact of the offensive line being what it is. Dave, Alvin Kamara is somebody that we were concerned about with a potential suspension. For me, it was, okay, if he's going to play the entire season, he's got top 5 upside. He's closer to that now than he was at the start of training camp. I would not be surprised if people were drafting him optimistically in the same group of Eckler, McCaffrey, Henry, ahead of Dalvin Cook, ahead of Joe Mixon. I know we don't see that, but I think he's certainly got that type of upside. Do you agree?
I do, and we've seen it before from Alvin Kamara. We saw it last year. He averaged almost 103 total yards per game. That's his 3rd time in 5 seasons with a triple-digit average. He had a career high in carries, 18.5 per game. He also had a 22.2% target share from Jameis Winston and 10.3% target share from everyone in New Orleans not named Jameis Winston. I think you got to really keep that in mind when it comes to drafting Alvin Kamara. Winston did a good job of finding him and throwing to him. Of course, there's the issue of how many throws Winston will actually make, but I think that he's still going to involve Kamara in that passing game. He's a candidate for over 60 receptions. Not a lot of running backs last year had 50 receptions. Kamara should make the cut this year.
And we know there's still a chance that the tape can surface and we get a suspension in the middle of the season. Just does not seem like that's going to be the case. So you don't have to worry about that. Injury risk, maybe Mark Ingram taking some touches, certainly on the table. But Alvin Kamara, when healthy, when right, could be an absolute superstar. Pete Prisco is with the Saints in New Orleans. Loved what he saw from Kamara in this offense. Javonte Williams, we know that Melvin Gordon said the Broncos want Javonte to be the guy. And I think that kind of made people a little bit more encouraged about Javonte Williams. And so I know we've all been kind of all over the place. Without Melvin Gordon, he was a top 10 guy. With Melvin Gordon, we dropped him in our rankings. Now we're back here after this Melvin Gordon scenario, and it just feels like new regime. Gordon saying he was looking for other opportunities because he knew what was coming and kind of settling going back to Denver. It feels like Javonte Williams should be a round 2 guy. I don't know if any of us put him there. I did. But I didn't do it so confidently. But I still feel like he's got the chance to be a superstar.
Yeah, I've got him. I think he has a chance to be a superstar for sure. The question I have is, what do they see as Melvin Gordon's role? Because if it's spelling him between the 20s on early downs, then Javonte Williams belongs in round 2, and he might be a top 8 running back this year. But there's reason to believe they might prefer Melvin Gordon in short yardage. They might prefer Melvin Gordon on passing downs. If he takes some of that work away from Javonte Williams, then I think round 3 is where he belongs.
Probably the safer spot, but I just think when you start to look at where these running backs and the ceilings that they can get to, if he hits his ceiling, my gosh, we saw it last year against the Chiefs. There was no Melvin Gordon in that game, but 29 PPR points. He's got the chance to be an 18-plus PPR scorer, and he actually had some pretty good numbers as well, even when Gordon was on the field. Chase Edmonds goes to Miami. We'll see what the split's going to be between him and Raheem Mostert, but I like what I saw in the preseason game, the second preseason game against the Raiders. Mostert didn't play in that game, and I do think you got to take into account that Mostert has only played 9 games over the last 2 years. So while he may be the lead rusher to start the season for Miami, Edmonds is going to eventually be the lead guy there, certainly the lead role in the passing game. And as we can see, I think, Dave, you gave him these numbers, 60 catches, 1,000 total yards. I think that's well on the table for Chase Edmonds, especially if Jalen Waddle's a little bit banged up to open the season. So Edmonds, a great number 3 caliber running back to start your team with. Number 2 if you go hero RB or zero RB, but he can absolutely become a top 20 running back in PPR. Love the upside for him. Christian Kirk going to the Jaguars. We know he got paid a lot to become a member of Jacksonville's receiving corps, but in their third preseason game, the second preseason week against the Steelers, 8 targets in the first half. Love that activity level for him, and we know that this receiving corps is missing a lead guy. Could he be the lead guy? Seems that way. Feels like Trevor Lawrence is going to lean on him, so love the upside there for Christian Kirk, a guy you could draft as a number 3 receiver, could become a top 24 guy by the end of the season. Dave, you've been talking about David Njoku all offseason. I looked at this last week. 10 of the top 12 tight ends in PPR were either number 1 or number 2 on their team in targets. He's going to be number 1 or number 2 on their team in targets. But can Jacobi Brissett support David Njoku enough that fantasy managers can trust him?
I think he can. We've seen Njoku's catch rate go up each of the past 3 seasons. His ADOT has gone up each of the past 3 seasons. His yards after catch per reception have also gone up each of the past 3 seasons. And Jacobi Brissett, for as bad as he is, threw 28.6% of his targets to tight ends last year with the Dolphins. And you might think, okay, well, that was the Dolphins. Well, what about 2019 with the Colts? Only 27.7% of his targets went to tight ends. This dude's going to get a lot of work. If it's a PPR league, he will finish as a top 12 tight end.